بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وبه نستعين على أمور الدنيا والدين وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, we have finished most of the book and there's only a little bit left. We were in the parts, the bab of Siyam. We're talking about all the rulings relating to fasting. All of the rulings relating to fasting. And the Shaykh started the book by going through first, when does Ramadan, fasting in the month of Ramadan, when does it become wajib? And he mentioned 5 situations when they become wajib, when it becomes wajib for you to start fasting in the month of Ramadan. Then we made the differentiation between different types of conditions. Does anyone remember what the difference between shurut al-sihah and shurut al-wujub are? Zakaria, you don't remember? Okay, we said that for all of the other chapters that we've studied, for tahara, salah, zakat as well, we said that we didn't make a differentiation between these two. Shurut al-wujub is that if these actions are found, if these conditions are found, actually we'll start with shurut al-sihah. If these conditions are found for shurut al-sihah, the action is correct. Okay? But shurut al-wujub are conditions that if you're missing one of them, the action itself isn't wajib upon you. That all these actions have to be found for the condition, for the action to be, all these conditions have to be found for the action to become wajib. And we mentioned some of the shurut of wujub and sihah of fasting in the month of Ramadan. Now what we're going to go through is arkan. What does arkan mean? No. The pillars, meaning that without these, the fast is incorrect. So, the Shaykh, he says, أركانه ثلاثة أشياء. The pillars of Siyam or Sawm are 3 things. There's 3 things that without it, the Sawm is invalid. The first one is نية ليلا لكل يوم في الفرض. That you need to make the intention for in the night for every fard that you're going to fast in Ramadan. Okay, so you need to make the niyyah, the intention, in the night time, so before you start fasting, for every fard, for every day of the Sawm. صح? Okay. And he said fil fard, meaning that what also comes under this is the fasting in Ramadan is one type of fast that is wajib, that you have to fast. What other types of fast did we mention that are also wajib, that you also have to fast? So you have to fast in the month of Ramadan. In what other situations does a fast become wajib? Anyone? No?
If you break an oath?
You're close. Not if you break an oath, but to say that, okay, now I see what you're saying. But the one we mentioned was the one where if you swear by Allah that you will fast a certain day. Sah? When you make an oath that you're going to fast, even for that one, if you said, I'm going to fast on this day, you have to make, one of the pillars is that you have to make the intention for that fast the night before, in the night. Okay, so that's the first pillar. The second one is وَتَرْكُ مُفَطِّرٍ ذَاكِرًا مُخْتَارًا غَيْرَ جَاهِلٍ مَعْذُورٍ. And to leave off the things that break your fast that we're going to come to. We're going to come and discuss the things that break your fast. But the pillar itself is to leave off all the things that break your fast knowingly, whilst choosing it, meaning not being forced. غَيْرَ جَاهِلٍ, without being ignorant of it. And that ignorance being one that is ma'dhur, that you're excused for. So what is the ignorance that you're excused for? Is someone, for example, that's a new Muslim. Okay? And they didn't know, they thought that fasting maybe was only to leave off food, but you're allowed to drink water. Sah? Did they leave off something? They actually done something that actually breaks the fast, but they done it out of ignorance, and that ignorance is excused. Okay? Another situation is someone who is far away from any scholars. Okay? Someone to teach them the religion. Okay? So that is another time where they're excused, but that if we look at the situation we're in, are we excused for not knowing the conditions and the pillars of fasting? That's not the case. Why? Because we have access to people that can teach us. So now it's not befitting for someone to say that lives in this country, I was drinking in the month of Ramadan, drinking water, whatever it was, because I was ignorant of it. Why? Because they're not excused for that ignorance. And the last one, وَالثَّالِثُ صَائِمٌ, that the person actually has to be fasting. And this is clear. And the reason it's mentioned is because you can't tell by looking at someone if they're fasting, right? There's no surah, there's no picture of how someone that's fasting looks. That's different to salah. You can tell if someone's praying. So that's why this condition is added, that the person actually has to be fasting. Okay? So that bab was talking about the pillars. If you don't find these three pillars, then the fast is invalid. Is that clear? Okay. Faslun, the next chapter. Now we're going to talk about a specific type of expiation you have to do when certain conditions are met. Okay? يجب مع القضاء للصوم. It's wajib with qada. And what is qada? Is to do an action outside of its time, after its time. So for example, when I pray, say for example I missed Fajr, and I pray at the time of Dhuhr, that salah would be qada. It would be something that I would be making up. Sah? So then what the Shaykh is mentioning here is it's wajib for someone that has broken their fast, and we'll come for which reasons they've broken their fast. For someone that has broken their fast, to make up that fast after Ramadan. That's the first thing. The first thing that's upon them is that they have to make up the fast. Number one. مع القضاء للصوم الكفارة العظمى as well. That they have to do the major expiation, which is to free a slave, and if they're not able to, they fast 2 months in succession, and if they're not able to, they feed 60 masakin. Is that clear? Yeah? So what is wajib upon them now is to make up that fast and do the kafara, and also a ta'zir, which is a punishment that a punishment that is set by the ruler. That is set by the ruler of the land. So those three things are upon this person. Okay, I've told you what they have to do, but what leads them to be in this situation? Okay, and that's going to come. Ala man, who is it for? On the person, afsada sawmahu fi Ramadan. The person that broke their fast in Ramadan, yawman kamilan, and that they completed bijima'in. And the reason they broke their fast was because of intercourse. Tammin, a complete intercourse, where the male's private part enters the female's private part. Sah? أثم به للصوم, meaning that he is sinful for this action. Generally, outside of Ramadan, this is halal for him. Okay? Meaning that he's married to this woman, and this is halal for him. Okay? But because he was in Ramadan, he was sinning because of it. Okay. Let's go back. Okay. Now, let's talk about everything that is excluded when we mention each one of these points, okay? So for example, he says, على من أفسد صومه في رمضان. What excludes from that? The Sawm outside of Ramadan, okay? It doesn't include someone that does this action outside of Ramadan whilst they're fasting. For example, they fasted a sunnah, maybe one of the Mondays or Thursdays they fasted, and they done this action, they don't have to pay the kafara. Does that make sense? Okay, that's one. Yawman kamilan. If the day wasn't complete, say for example they passed away, they done this action, they passed away before the day was complete, the kafara, they wouldn't get sin for not paying the kafara because the day wasn't complete. For example, Fajr came in, their fast started, they done the action, and they passed away before Maghrib. Do you understand? So the whole day of fast didn't finish, so then the kafara is not wajib upon them. Bijima'in, and it has to be through this action. It can't be through eating or drinking. So if someone breaks their fast on purpose by eating, is the kafara wajib upon them? No. Why? Because it's not through this action. Tam, meaning that it's complete. If someone does this action but not completely, sah, then is the kafara wajib upon them? Then no. Do you understand? So that's what we're doing, everything but the opposite. Sah?
What if one of the persons passed away? Maybe the other person.
And the person that done the sin, that broke their fast this way, if they die, then the kafara is not wajib upon them. Sah? Athima bihi, and this, they have to be sinning through it. Meaning that there's a situation where, and this is a question, where is a situation that we can think of where the person is in Ramadan, okay, the person's in Ramadan, they started their fast, okay, they done this action, but they're not sinning by it. Think about it. It's not easy. So I'll repeat. They started the fast, okay, in Ramadan. So they meet all the other conditions, but the only condition they don't meet is that they're sinning by it. They're sinning by this action, they fall into sin.
They're traveling.
There we go. They're traveling. Why? Because originally the fast wasn't wajib upon them anyway. Sah? So they were allowed to do this. It's not haram for them to do this. Sah? Does that make sense? For the person that's traveling or the person that's sick, where the fast isn't wajib upon you anyway, meaning the conditions, the shurut al-wujub, they didn't have all of them. For example, we said one of the conditions for someone for the fast to be wajib upon them is that they have to be a resident. If they're not a resident and they're a traveler, then the fast isn't wajib upon them in the first place. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay. Does that make sense? So that is, if someone meets all these conditions, that they are fasting in the month of Ramadan and they break it because of jima', because of intercourse, a complete intercourse, and they're sinning by it, then the kafaratul uzma is upon them. They have to pay the kafaratul uzma. Okay, plus they have to make up that day as well. Plus the ta'zir as well, the punishment from the ruler. Does that make sense? Okay, next chapter is when are there situations where you have to make up the fast. So you're fasting that day, you break your fast. What's upon you now is you have to make up this fast, and on that day as well you have to continue fasting even though you broke it. There's situations where even though you broke your fast, you must continue fasting for the rest of that day, even though you would have to make that fast up again later. That's what the Shaykh talks about in this chapter. So وَيَجِبُ مَعَ الْقَضَاءِ is wajib with qada, making up, al-imsak, continuing the fast, للصوم في ستة مواضع, in 6 situations. الأول في رمضان لا في غيره. على متعد بفطره. The person in Ramadan, not outside of Ramadan, the person in Ramadan that purposefully breaks their fast by eating, drinking, whatever it is. So, now this person, what is upon them? They have to make up the fast that they broke. Plus, for the rest of that day, it's not, they can't say, okay, I already broke my fast, I'm going to start eating and drinking. They have to protect the sanctity of Ramadan. So they have to continue to fast that day as well, until sunset. They have to fast for the rest of the day. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's number one. والثاني على تارك النية ليلا في الفرض. The one that leaves off the intention in the night for the fard fast. For example, the night before Ramadan, they went to sleep, okay? And you know, the last day in Sha'ban, people are waiting to hear whether Ramadan is going to be tomorrow or not, right? Before they've got confirmation that tomorrow is Ramadan, they went to sleep. Before they had confirmation, they thought, tomorrow, don't worry, Sha'ban, inshallah, we don't have to fast. Sah? Before that, they went to sleep. They woke up on the new day and everyone's fasting. Ramadan has started, okay? That person, did they make the intention in the night? No, they didn't make the intention. So that person, what is upon them that day, that fast doesn't count. Why? Because they didn't come with the intention, number one. So they have to repeat that fast. Plus, for the rest of that day, they have to fast as well. Clear, yeah? Is that clear? Then they're sinning. Because it says, at the beginning of the chapter, it says, وَيَجِبُ مَعَ الْقَضَاءِ. What we understand from yajibu is that it's wajib upon them, and if they leave it off, they're sinning. Okay? والثالث على من تسحر ظانا بقاء الليل فبان خلافه. The person that has suhoor, thinking that there's still a part of the night left, they're still eating, thinking that they're still in the part where the fast hasn't started, but it becomes clear to them that the fast actually has started. It's time to start fasting. فَبَانَ خِلَافُهُ. The opposite became clear. That really and truly they weren't in the night anymore, that the fast has come in and they should have started to fast. What is upon them? They have to repeat that, they have to make up that fast after Ramadan and continue fasting for that day. Clear, yeah? And then similarly, والرابع على من أفطر ظانا لغروب فبان خلافه أيضا. The one that broke their fast thinking that the sun has set, but what became clear is that the sun hasn't set yet and it was still time for fasting. They have to continue fasting for the rest of that time. Plus that fast, even though they fasted the whole day, it doesn't count. They have to do it again after Ramadan. Okay. والخامس على من بان له يوم الثلاثين من شعبان أنه من رمضان. That the one that it became clear to them that the 30th day of Sha'ban is from Ramadan. So for example, it's similar to the example before where the person, the last day of Sha'ban, they didn't fast. They thought it wasn't going to be Ramadan, so they didn't fast that day. They started to break their fast. They had food, whatever, but it became clear that it was actually Ramadan. It was the first day of Ramadan. So what happens? That first day of Ramadan, for them, they've broke their fast. Their fast doesn't count, but they have to continue fasting and make it up after Ramadan. والسادس, the sixth situation where someone has to continue fasting and make up the fast is على من سبقه ماء المبالغة من مضمضة واستنشاق. The one that goes extreme in gargling or putting water in their nose in wudu, and it reaches the chest cavity. So this person, their fast is broken, it doesn't count. They have to make up the fast plus continue fasting for the rest of the day. We have time, inshallah, to do the next chapter. Is that chapter clear, yeah? Any questions on that? Okay. The last thing that we're going to go through today is what breaks your fast. What actually breaks your fast? The fast is broken. يبطل الصوم بردة. Number one, بردة, by leaving the religion. For someone to go from being a Muslim to a non-Muslim, that would break their fast. والثاني الحيض. If a woman, her period starts in the daytime when she's fasting, then that fast is broken, even if it's 1 minute before the fast is ending. That fast is broken, she would have to make that up. When nifas, like that as well, is nifas. Even if it's the last part of the fast as well, of the day of the fast. And nifas being the bleeding that happens after birth. And the fourth one, wilada, which is birth itself, even if there's no blood. And that is the same as what makes ghusl wajib, like we have already studied. Khamis, the fifth one, بجنون ولو لحظة. If someone goes crazy, even if it's for a moment, they go crazy for a moment, then the fast is broken. Why? Because we said one of the conditions for the correct for the sawm to be correct is that they have to be sane. So if they go crazy for even a moment, then that condition is gone. And the next one is بإغماء. If someone loses consciousness, like faints or something, generally, that's the same whether they done it on purpose or they were sick or wherever it was. But there's a condition that this has to be for the whole day. For the whole day. So, for example, now the question is, if someone loses consciousness and wakes back up within the same day, can they continue their fast? The answer is yes, because it's like they slept. It's like they slept in the day. They take the ruling of someone that slept throughout the day. Sah? But if the whole day from Fajr to, from the beginning of the fast to the end of the fast, they've lost consciousness, maybe they're in a coma or whatnot, then that fast doesn't count, and the fast is one of the things that break the fast. Next one, sukrin ta'adda bihi, the drunkenness that is caused by the person themselves. And it's not that the person drinks in the day of fasting, because drinking itself, that would cause them to break the fast anyway, no matter what it is, water, whatever it is. But now if someone causes themselves to be drunk in the night time, and their drunkenness continues throughout the day, then that would break their fast, even if they didn't eat or drink anything. But because they were drunk and it continued throughout the day, that is what causes the fast to break. And the last two, so losing consciousness and being drunk on purpose, the condition is that it has to happen for the whole day. They need to be drunk for the whole day, or that they have to have lost consciousness for the whole day. And those are the things that he mentions that break the fast in the book. But as we know, there are more, like eating and drinking, like by forcing yourself to vomit as well would break the fast, and other things. Sah? But those are what is mentioned in the book, and we'll stop there. If there's any questions, we'll take them now.
So someone can't have an intention for the whole month to fast. You have to do it night by night.
Well, intention is one of the things that you shouldn't make difficult upon yourself. If you've made the intention that you're going to fast a month, the likeliness is that when you go to sleep that night, you have in your heart that you're going to intend to fast tomorrow. So you've come with the intention anyway. So it should be, Wallahu alam, should be fine. But yeah, inshallah, yeah, no problem. Any other questions? No. Hey, subhanakallahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.